What's up, y'all? We got a bombshell. We got a bombshell. Finally. Yeah, she look good. She got a body on her. Olandria got some body competition now. At least, yeah, she got some body competition. Both of them look good, but we got two bodies, like true bodies up in here. But shout out to y'all again. As always, y'all have been literally blowing the videos up every single night, and I cannot thank y'all enough. If y'all didn't join last night, myself and Elise had our first live for the season. Make sure to be back next Wednesday. Shout out to everybody that did. Shout out to the big hitters, my favorites that I watch on a regular. Tammy Talks, Roxy, Says, and Jamie, that's me. They were in the chat as well as everybody else. Shout out to y'all. And shout out to Elise. Go subscribe to her. Go follow her on TikTok if you aren't already, Elise J. But yeah, I'm grateful. Y'all are truly getting me close to 10K, and I just cannot believe it. I'm overwhelmed. I was very overwhelmed yesterday whenever I finished, but I'm grateful. But enough of me talking about that. We're gonna get into this. It was actually a good episode because we didn't feel it wasn't toxic. It was finally a moment where we could actually have a moment to breathe. But it's gonna get very interesting tomorrow. I'm very excited to see what's gonna go down tomorrow because the bombshells are bombshelling, and we're gonna get into it. All right, so we get back and Jalen is gone. That's the sad part. But Taylor, Olandria, and Huda, they end up walking over to that couch, and they're hand in hand. Like, Taylor's got both of their hands. So they go and sit down, and Huda's pretty much telling Taylor how much she loves him to death, and she's grateful for him doing what he did. As we all know, he stood over there to make sure that she stayed. And she tells him that, and he says, I love you too, but on some real shit. Y'all need to separate. Essentially telling her, we're not doing this toxic shit no more. Like, y'all need to be done. Like, don't even be around each other because we ain't going through this shit no more. And she ends up stating that she hasn't had the opportunity to get to know anybody else, and she feels like she keeps getting slapped in the face. And I was like, you haven't had the opportunity to get to know anybody else because you haven't done that. That's your own fault. You're the reason as to why you haven't gotten to know anybody else because you shut yourself off. And that's essentially what everybody was telling you on a consistent basis the last 2 weeks, that you're so closed in on Jeremiah that you're ruining your own Love Island experience because you're not really doing what you're supposed to do on Love Island, which is to get to know everybody else. So how you feeling like you slapped in the face? But she ends up starting to make herself out to be a victim or whatever, talking about all of what Jeremiah has done. And then ends up stating that he keeps winning and he fucked me over. And she said he'd been fucking her over since the beginning. I'm like, how did he fuck you over since the beginning? You fucked yourself over from the beginning, as we all have stated on numerous occasions, when you came into this villa and didn't tell that man day one, the first conversation y'all had, that you were a mother. Ever since you did that, and it's not even just based off of that, after that, everything started to snowball because you started questioning so many other things as well. And then not only that, you spiraled out off of stupid shit. And it's like you wanted him to court you after you saw everybody else getting courted. But you were so gung-ho on giving it to Jeremiah immediately that, of course, without you allowing him to even court you or at least try and prove himself to you, why would he keep doing it? Like, why would he start then doing that now? Because you didn't make him do it to begin with. So that's nobody's fault but your own. But as she's sitting here having this conversation with them, you can look at Olandria and Taylor and see that they don't want to sit here and talk to her. You can tell they're very uncomfortable with just all this consistent, like, Jeremiah talk. And Huda, of course, is not really clocking it. Like, y'all know how you sit and have a conversation with somebody, you can tell, like, they're no longer wanting to hear it anymore. She's not catching on to that. Just like how Tuesday, in the Tuesday's episode, she wasn't picking up on the cues and the energy that everybody that she kept coming around just spewing all this shit to did not want to hear it. But she just has no self-awareness. But she ends up stating that Jeremiah could be like, damn, like, she deserves better. Like, I want her to find somebody. I'm like, why would he do that? Like, after everything that you've done to him, why would he really care about your well-being, honestly? But he does, but we'll get to it in a minute. But she calls him a bitch yet again. And Taylor tells her, we're not doing that. I'm like, I'm glad, because they finally started to tell her, you need to cut that out a lot today. And he was like, we're not doing that. We don't need none of that petty shit, none of them slick comments. Olandria says, you're not going to be mean to Iris either. And Taylor was like, we need positive vibes moving forward. Y'all need to separate and enjoy the experience. But Huda then gets to her confessionals. And she says that she knew that she wasn't getting picked. And she just can't trust Jeremiah anymore because he showed her how he truly feels about her. And she says that was enough for her to let it go. She said that. Then that was enough for her to let it go, which it should have been enough for you to let it go whenever he did not choose you. That should have been it. But we'll get to that in a minute. Put a pin in it. But we get to Ace and Chelley. She's sitting there laying down. He comes over and he gives her a kiss. I said, wow, this is the first time either one of them have actually kissed somebody outside of a challenge, which tells you a lot. It tells you a lot, especially considering Ace and his boundaries. And Chelley, with her stating how 50-50 she was with her and Austin when she was coupled up with Austin, she ain't did none of this. But we'll get to that later on. But she ends up telling him that she's happy that they're finally a couple, and she wasn't sure if he was going to know that she was going to choose him, essentially. And Ace ends up stating, you finally got your program together. I said, she finally got her program together? You got yours together. She been waiting on you. That was clear. She been waiting on you, which I wish she wasn't, but she was waiting on you. But she ends up stating in her confessionals that Austin moving on made her breathe a sigh of relief, and she can finally be with Ace. And I'm like, you could have easily told him, I don't want you. But, I mean, I get why she did it, because she knew she had to make sure she was still here. Like, let's keep it real. Because if she would have completely cut him off, dealing with Ace, you playing with fire. You playing with fire. Because he could have easily left her sitting there, and then she would have been completely vulnerable, and she might have gotten sent home if Austin already made another connection. But, I mean, I get it, but it's just funny. But she then says that she can finally be her true self and see what it's about. But Ace then says that he's praying to God that he did not make the wrong decision keeping Huda in the house. And he ends up stating because her behavior is unacceptable and she shouldn't be rewarded for it. And I'm like, yeah, I wish I would have sent her home, but they didn't do it. But he then says that he made the decision based off of Jalen because he didn't see much effort on Jalen's end. I'm saying you didn't see much effort on his end, but you, I guess, seen some with Taylor. And I guess the only reason why you feel that is because you forced him to do that. Because Taylor didn't do anything. He put no effort into anything. You're the one that gave him the tools and he went ahead and got to work. So he didn't put any effort in. You put the effort in. He just went and just executed it in a poor fashion. But, I mean, he did it. But he says that, but we get Olandria and Taylor. They're upstairs in soul ties. And she ends up asking him, like, what was you thinking when Jalen went up to my door to decide? And he ends up stating that he thought that her shit was locked. And, of course, it was. And he then says that Jalen was cool. Like, we never had a problem or anything, but he stood behind Huda. And Taylor's talking about how he stood behind Huda because he had faith in her and he wants to hold her accountable for her shit going forward. I said, we'll see. We'll see. But he did. So I'm happy he did. But we'll get to that in a minute. Olandria is in her confessionals talking about how she's happy to be a couple with Taylor, and he blows her mind every single day. I said, he blows your mind doing what, though? What? I'm like, hopefully we're not seeing something, but from what we're being shown, he ain't doing nothing. Like, what? We get a quick little scene with Austin and Amaya. He's happy, obviously, because he's got somebody that's giving him energy back and giving him more energy than he can put out, because he's not putting out any energy with anybody that he claims to be interested in. Like, he claimed he was interested in Chelley, but didn't put any energy in towards showing her that he truly was interested, besides sitting there complaining and bitching. But he got somebody like Amaya who naturally has a lot of positive energy and a lot of energy that she's going to put towards something that she wants. So she's excited to get to know him as well. And she ends up stating, like, you should be excited about being with me. Like, we all know how Amaya is. But he then says that it felt good with them mutually choosing each other. Because, I mean, obviously he feels a little bit of security knowing that she actually wanted him too. Whereas with Chelley, he was questioning it. And you had a right to question it because she ain't want you. But you ain't want her either. Let's call it a spade. Let's call a spade a spade. You didn't want her. We know that. We know why you didn't want her. But Amaya ends up giving him a kiss and whatever. But Jeremiah and Iris, they're having a conversation. And they're upstairs in the speakeasy. Iris ends up talking about how Jeremiah chose the mature option, which he did. And she says, I'm interested in you, but I'm not going to be like, you can't go talk to anybody. Like, I'm going to let you be able to have your experience that you're supposed to have. I'm going to let you have a healthy Love Island experience. That's basically what she's saying. Huda's psycho ass is sitting there walking around, and then she's standing there eavesdropping on their conversation. She's eavesdropping on their conversation after she just said that when he didn't choose her, that was enough for her to let it go. But you're sitting here eavesdropping on their conversations. She needs to go home. She needs to get help. But she's sitting there doing that. Iris ends up saying, I'm not calling people bitches and pussies and shit. As Huda's sitting there listening to it, I'm like, I'm glad she's saying it. But he then says that I would rather go home than to be with somebody toxic. And I'm like, good. I'm glad to hear that. Because, like, you was looking a little crazy. Because it seemed like you wanted to be with somebody toxic. But we'll see. We'll see if he changes and finds a way back to Huda. Because if you watch this show, you know it's a strong possibility that it could. But from this episode, I was actually very impressed with Jeremiah. But we'll get to it. But Iris, she then tells Jeremiah that he and Huda aren't compatible, and he ends up saying, like, tonight felt like joy. Like, I felt like I made a good decision that made me happy, which you did. But she then says, it's not about finding the first connection, it's about finding the best one. And I said, yeah, she's sitting in there preaching to him. He needed to hear all of that. But here come Huda. She comes walking in, strategically dropping that tone, trying to talk like this. Iris, is it okay if I talk to Jeremiah? And can I sit right there? I said, Huda, who you think you fooling? Who you think you fooling? But Jeremiah looked uninterested, honestly, whenever she sat down. And Iris ends up getting up and she heads out. Huda is sitting there telling Jeremiah, I'm not here to argue. I just want to let you know that I wish you the best. But I'm extremely hurt. Here we go. It's always about Huda. You should have said, I wish you the best. I want to let you know, even though we're not going to have any more conversations, that I apologize for calling you out your name. I should have never called you a bitch. I should have never said any of that stuff that I said about you. Granted, we might have been in a toxic situation and I might have reacted in a way that should not have happened as a grown woman, a 24-year-old with a child at home. But no, she didn't do that. She didn't do that. And that's why until she does that, I don't care about none of this shit that they got going on. They're trying to give her a redemption arc. We'll get to it in a minute. But until she takes accountability for how she treated him, how she treated Iris, how she treated Amaya, she needs to go straight to those people and tell them, I called y'all out y'all's name because I'm an insecure person. And that is something that I need to work on. Until she does that, she gets nothing from me. But she tells him that, and she's talking about how she was extremely hurt. She shared some great moments with him, some best moments, like her best moments were in here was with him, and she cared about him so much. I'm like, please. But Iris then goes in to the makeup room where Amaya's in there ironing some shit. She must be, how am I supposed to be somebody's wife when I can't even iron nobody's clothes? Amaya is so funny. But Iris is telling her about Huda breaking up their conversation, and Amaya's like, we literally just saved her for her to go in here and still be doing the same shit, aka still talking to Jeremiah. I'm like, exactly. That's why y'all should have sent her ass home. But Huda then says to Jeremiah that she's partially to blame for the toxicity in the house. And she says, we're both to blame. And it's like, she's right, essentially. But if you want to do it on a percentage scale, she's 95% of that. Jeremiah is the 5%. Because Jeremiah allowed the shit to happen. And that's toxic in itself. But she is the toxicity of the season. The way she goes on tirades, the way she brings all that negative energy around the house and in the villa, we feel the shit at home watching it. You are the toxicity. And he finally used his brain and removed himself from it, which is going to stop the toxicity with him and hopefully with you. Hopefully with you. He made a smart decision for both of y'all. But she then says that, and she ends up stating that, because he made a face too. It was funny. Because when she said that, he made a face. And she's like, you think it's only me? Yeah, 95% of the time it is. But Jeremiah says, no, it's just the yelling, the interrupting chats, calling me a bitch, calling me out my name. No other girl in this house would have done this shit. I'm like, I'm glad you finally said it. Finally, you standing up for yourself. But Taylor is outside listening, though. Because, you know, Taylor is on accountability duty. And I'm like, I'm glad he is. But she's sitting there talking to Jeremiah, still saying that you literally tore my heart into pieces. Never taking accountability for shit. It's always Jeremiah with her. Jeremiah is the one that's doing everything wrong. It's never her. It's never her. And Taylor comes in, and he's standing in the door like, what did I tell you to do? I told you not to. And she sees him. She's like, I'm not yelling. I'm not arguing. We're relaxed. We're just saying this right here, and then we're going to be done. Taylor walks away like... And I'm like, I'm glad he's standing on business. I'm glad he's making sure that she is not in here cutting a fool. But Huda then goes in and sits closer to Jeremiah. I said, here she go with the manipulation tactic. It's about to start loading. And I called it, and we about to get into it. But she then says, I just want to let you know that I truly cared. And she's sitting there starting to cry. And he ends up stating that I want you to know I hold no hate in my heart towards you. I wish you the best. And then she's crying. And then they start hugging, essentially. But he was looking mentally checked out. You can see it all over his face that he might actually be like off of her completely. Like he just was sitting there taking it in, letting her talk, and it just looked like he was just done. Like mentally, he checked out. But she says in her confessionals that she thinks that they're finally finished, and she doesn't think that she'll keep exploring it because it just won't work and they weren't meant to happen. I said, I hope so. I hope you stand true to that. But they get up and hug, and this is where the manipulation tactic goes in. They're hugging. She got her arms around his neck, and his neck is right here while they hugging. As soon as he pulls it back, what is she doing? Looking him straight up in his eyes, making a face like, I want you to kiss me. That's the face she did. And I said, Jeremiah, don't you do it. But thank God he didn't. He didn't. But he gets in his confessionals and states that the chat felt like a sense of closure. Like, that was closing the book, which it should be. And he was like, if she asks me for chats going forward, I'm going to have to respectfully deny those chats because I made the right choice. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you for saying that. And I hope you stand true to it. But he then goes back to the island where Olandria, Taylor, Ace, and Pepe are. And he ends up asking them where Iris is. Olandria's like, I thought y'all was just sitting up there talking. And he was like, I mean, we were until we were interrupted. And she said, by who? And he made a face like, you know who. Like, come on. But he then says, respectfully, that shit is over. I was like, thank you. And Ace ends up saying, I don't want to hear y'all's name in a sentence together again. I said, exactly. And Jeremiah was like, same. So I'm like, good. But we get to bedtime. Everybody's getting ready for bedtime. You got my top four, Cierra, Olandria, Chelley, and Amaya. They're upstairs in the break room. And Cierra's pretty much talking about how Jeremiah not choosing Huda in front of everybody should have been the sign and the closure that you don't need to continue to pursue him and you need to start moving differently today. And she said if she don't move differently tomorrow when she wakes up, I'm not going to save her again. Cierra stood on business, and I'm glad she was the one that stood on business. But all four of them agreed. But Huda comes up there. Cierra, Olandria, and Chelley are no longer in there. They got the fuck up out of there. But she did tells Hannah and Amaya that that's the end of an era. And Amaya ends up telling her and finally checking her too in a respectful way. She says, I'll be honest with you. It was inappropriate for you to talk to Jeremiah after what we just did. We just sent somebody home to give you another chance and you going right back. Don't do that shit. That's essentially what she was doing and saying to her. But she then says that I did it. This is what Huda's saying. I did it because so we can finish the day and finish the conversation and start brand new tomorrow. No, as you stated, the closure was when he didn't pick you. But everybody's sleeping. And the only thing I wanted to mention, which I know y'all saw it too, Hannah and Pepe, they laying in bed. And you see Hannah licking her hand, which obviously you know why she did to get herself wet. Because they was down there. I said, if y'all didn't watch the live last night, I mentioned it. And she proved it right. She in her whole phase era. Like, she having her whole phase on Love Island. We need a hoe on the show. And I ain't calling her a hoe, but she having her whole phase. But we need a hoe on the show. Like, you got to have somebody on the show that's going to do this stupid shit. But the next day, Amaya, she's telling Olandria that it felt good to finally cuddle with somebody. As we all know, she was stuck with Ace. But Ace and Pepe, they are excited to be in their couples. Chelley was expecting her and Ace to be cuddling a lot more in the bed. And I'm like, maybe he does have his boundaries then because he wasn't doing it on the first night. But everybody's getting their breakfast and coffee as normal. Jeremiah was being chivalrous. He ended up because Iris was about to sit down and he's taking the chair for her, pulling the chair out for her. I said, okay, Jeremiah, you never did that for Huda. But then again, I don't blame him. Somebody that calls me a bitch all day long. You think I'm going to do stuff for you? Are you crazy? No. But Olandria and Chelley having another conversation. And like I told y'all all season, I love when they have their conversations. Olandria got a new pair of heels on every single day. She going to make sure she always looks good. Chelley look good too. But Chelley ends up asking Olandria about her and Taylor's night. And she was like, it was cool. Like, we cuddled a little bit. Chelley's like, are y'all at the point now where y'all can kiss? Like, y'all can kiss now. And she was like, yeah, we do. But we didn't do it last night. That should have been the night to do it. If he was really claiming that he was really all locked in on you, he could have kissed you in that bed. Like, let's keep it real. The fact that he didn't, I still think the way I do. But Olandria then says she feels like they don't look at each other like strangers anymore. And she feels like she can kiss him now any time of the day, essentially. You feel that way. We'll see if he does. But Chelley then talks about how when Ace opened that door and kissed her, as soon as he saw essentially that she wanted to couple up with him as well, it was basically their first time actually kissing somebody outside of the challenges, which is what I just said earlier. And she says essentially she was expecting more cuddles from him going forward. She wants that, which tells you everything that we already knew. She was in a couple with Austin all season. She wasn't saying none of this because she ain't want him. That's the point. That's the point. She wanted Ace. But Cierra and Huda. Cierra was therapist right here in this scene. Cierra ends up telling her when we were standing up there, I was going back and forth with, should I even save you? I was thinking about going over here and be over here with Jalen. And the reason why I was questioning it was because I want to know if you're actually really going to make those steps to better yourself. I said, give it to her straight, Cierra. Give it to her. But they ended up panning, because I don't know if this was editing. I don't know if they actually really did. But those two ended up looking over at Iris and Jeremiah, who were having a conversation. But Iris is over there telling Jeremiah that she doesn't think that she's ever seen him this excited and just like happy. And Jeremiah's like, yeah, I feel healthy waking up with you. That's pretty much what he said. And he said that she wasn't, and he's saying this in his confessionals, that she wasn't just making shit about herself. Like, she actually was checking up on me as well. And he said, America might have had a point. I said, exactly. You figured it out. You realized why what was done was done. Your girl didn't. Huda didn't. But Huda is over there still talking with Cierra. And Huda was like, seeing him with somebody else is weird. I just don't want to see it. We know you don't. But Cierra then says, like, I hate seeing you lose control of your emotions. She about to start preaching right here. Cierra said a bar. She said, I hate seeing you lose control over your emotions. And I never want you to beg for anyone to want you, to treat you right, and to respect you. Because the second that you do that is when you lose it yourself. I said, you better get your ass in the damn church, Cierra, because she was preaching. And that's what I've been saying. Like, it's that internal. She don't have that love and respect for herself, which is why I say she needs to go home. Like, she needs to go home until she finds that. She's not going to find it in the villa. You can't find that in a day. Like, she got to go home and do that work on herself. Because if she's in here, and I do believe Huda is in here for love. I do. Even though all that craziness that comes with her, I do believe she's genuinely in here for love. And she does all of this crazy shit for love. But it's just not healthy for her. It's not healthy for the person that she's pursuing. So she needs to go home and figure out Huda first, especially knowing that she has a child too. She needs to figure out Huda first, love Huda first, before trying to get in a relationship, because it's never going to be healthy until you do that. But Cierra was telling her everything she needed to hear, and somebody finally said it, and I'm glad she did. But she then says that she keeps thinking about her daughter. This is what Huda's saying. She says she's been thinking about her daughter. The crash out made her go like, damn, fuck Huda. It seems like in the moment she might have been regretting it. Who knows for sure. But she says in her confessionals that she just wants to continue to stay positive, leave the past in the past, and be hopeful for the future. Like I said, they're trying to give her this redemption edit. I'm not buying it until she apologizes for what she did with those three. But this, honestly, I will say this is the first time watching Huda. She was not responding. She looked like she was actually taking it in. It looks like Cierra was actually getting through to her. Fingers crossed she does, but we'll see. Only time will tell. But Austin and Chelley, they're having a conversation, pretty much catching up on each other. And she's like, did you miss me? Well, he's like, did you miss me? And she's like, I miss you a little bit. And then she says that she essentially, I don't care. I'm not about to talk about it. I don't care. Because their conversations are pointless. It's pointless. But Nick, Cierra, they're talking. Pepe and Hannah are talking. And Taylor and Olandria are also talking as well. Little stupid conversations. Nothing too great. But Ace ends up getting a text as he's laying there with Chelley. And it's about tonight's game. The villa's excited because it's called, well, they pretty much gave him the clue, turn up the heat. So everybody's excited. Hannah gets the text next, and it says, girls, we got some hot girl summer swimwear. Obviously we all knew because we saw the first look, but I'm like, that's the Stallion. I was like, let's see if they put two and two together. They're excited. They don't know it's Meg yet. Cierra gets a text, and she starts hollering. They're like, what? She then reads out the text and says, see y'all soon. Love, Megan the Stallion. The Stallion is in the building, and she look good. Everybody in there was screaming. Everybody, even the men. Every last person in there was excited to see the Stallion. But Amaya ends up stating in her confessionals that Meg was the one that pretty much taught her how to shake that ass. She said she got to get them knees ready, the Meg knees ready. Nick, as we all know, Nick is white chocolate. Nick like him some chocolate. Like, he gonna always talk about how good some chocolate look. And he says he only heard Meg the Stallion from that text. And he started saying body yaddy yaddy. And we know she got that body yaddy yaddy. But the girls, they end up going upstairs. They up there practicing. down there doing their knee work and stuff. They put their fits on. Olandria, God. That shot they showed of her in that black suit, making them cakes move. Olandria, that's a vixen. She look like a vixen. That woman is striking. Chelley, Amaya, Cierra, they all look good. They all look good in Meg suits. But Meg come walking in looking just as good too. They gave her a nice little slow-mo. I like the way they had Meg on this episode. We got to actually see her interact with them. Not just host. She got to interact with the girls. For real, for real. And she kind of interacted with the boys too during the game. But she goes in there as they're upstairs practicing it. So they still practicing it. I was like, I want to see her walk in here as they doing it. And that's exactly what happened. They started hollering when they saw her. Chelley said she broke her nail. They all up there hugging her. Amaya's excited. Meg pretty much has let them know she been keeping up. And we know she has, considering what she about to ask them. But she ends up stating that she was gagged. She says, y'all are actually beautiful in real life. Like, y'all look good on TV, but in real life, y'all really are beautiful. But she got in her confessionals. I love seeing her in the confessional. She was super natural. But she sits in there with them in the makeup room, and she starts going down the line. I like how she went down the order. And you could tell which ones were her favorites, truthfully, because they all went in order. You could tell she loved her some Cierra. She was talking about Cierra a lot. But she pretty much said, like, Sierra's too fine for all of that. Don't be doing Cierra. But she ends up telling them that she likes them. She asked if Nick is actually real nice in real life. And they were like, yeah, he is. She talks about Olandria. She tells Olandria. She says her name, and Olandria started screaming, you know my name. She going to be in Meg's video. We're going to get to it. We're going to get to it. But Meg then says, like, what is the booty routine? We know you got it. You got it. But Olandria's is nice, too. So, imagine the two of them. And we're going to get to it later on. Because Bombshell need to be in the video with them, too. But she gives Chelley her props for whenever Ace was pretty much telling her, like, this is the handbook on how to date Ace. And she was like, I'm not trying to be the perfect girl for Ace. She gave her props for that. She talks about Amaya with the babe shit. She said she's about to jump through the TV for her. And she ends up saying, now, friend. Who you think she's talking to? Huda. I was like, she really want to say what she really want to say, and she ain't really say it. But she was like, the face card is crazy, which it is. Huda's a pretty girl. All that craziness aside, she is a pretty girl. Nobody's taking that away from her. She's just not all the way right upstairs. But she was like, we need to see more smiles, because it's been some rough couple days with you. Tell her, Meg. Tell her. But she's like, I don't like that for you. But she ends up saying that Huda was standing on business. I was like, in what way? With her walking around cussing people out, I guess. But she ain't stood on business because she still kept going back. But Megan's in her confessional stating that her favorite moment of the season was when Huda told Nick about her being a mom. And Nick was like, what, you mean a mommy? Mamacita? That was funny. But she ends up asking Iris how it feels to be in there. And Iris is like, it feels good. She said, don't lie. Like, tell the truth. But Meg ends up telling us in her confessionals that it's kind of easy to forget that these people are actually really human beings. It's not, honestly. But if you're a child, I guess it is. But basically stating, like, lay off on them. And even though I be saying what I be saying on here, I would never be the type to go get in somebody's comments and harass them and tell them you ain't shit this, that. I ain't gonna do that. I'm gonna say what I gotta say on here. But if you're one of those people doing that in people's comments, please relax. But she takes him downstairs, and she was arm in arm with Olandria and Chelley. Love that. Take the Polaroid picture. But the boys, they finally see them coming walking in, and they gawking seeing Meg Thee Stallion. Of course. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? And Ace immediately jumps down doing push-ups. Nick is gushing over her in them confessionals. But Meg is ready to play the game. Ace is like a kid at the candy store. He is cheesing seeing Meg. Cheesing. And he probably going to end up in the video too, because we know he dances. But Meg is the host of the challenge. And it's pretty much like a showdown, essentially. It's girls versus the boys. The first round is a twerk off. The second round is the 3 boys versus 3 girls in a limbo game. And then the last round, they got to build a puzzle. So essentially, whoever wins the most wins. So essentially, and then not only that, with the puzzle, you're going to build your bombshell, which I was like, are they going to show the bombshell, or is it just going to be a bombshell and then they're going to bring them out? But they actually showed them, but we'll get to it. But she tells them essentially that the team that finishes first will get their bombshell first. So Meg is the judge, so she's going to determine who wins what. First round is the twerk off. And we have 4 different matchups. The first matchup was Huda versus Ace. I was like, this could be interesting, because I was like, Huda going to show why she is a mother. And she did. Huda got up there. Huda got a body on her too. Like, she made that thing clap. She was all the moves. Huda was out there doing it. She was doing her thing. The cakes was caking. Ace, he said, I ain't got no ass for this. Meg said, you better find it. That shit was so funny. But Ace showed off that he is a dancer. He was down there breakdancing, body rolling, crumping. He wasn't twerking, and I wouldn't either. But who you think won? Huda. I wasn't mad at it because Huda did her thing. Amaya versus Austin. Amaya is just too cute. She is too cute. That little booty, she was in there doing what she needed to do. She was twerking it. She was dropping to the splits. Austin and his skinny rhythmless nation ass got up there. Stifler, as Elise would say. Stifler was over there doing his thing. He was as stiff as a board, but he was entertaining. He got up in front of Meg, started smacking his ass. She was enjoying it. And obviously he won. I can't be too mad at that because she had to play it fair. She couldn't give it all to the girls. But here we go. Here's the show. Olandria fans, y'all got y'all space off. Olandria. Her heart rate challenge, that thing is going to be crazy. She got up there and immediately started bouncing that thing. Bouncing it. And it was just... All the boys couldn't even contain themselves. Meg couldn't either. Olandria, God, that's a woman. That is a woman. And then it made me sit and think. Taylor talking about he ain't physically attracted. Are you fucking insane? Are you insane? But Nick, I was like, Nick, you need to go sit down. Go sit down. But Nick gets out there and does his thing too. Nick was out there. He was on the ground crawling. Meg was impressed. And he starts twerking. But then he gets down on the ground and starts doing the crybaby. I was like, Nick is literally white chocolate. Nick, he got some culture in him. But, of course, the winner was Olandria, obviously. Nick did his thing, but Olandria won the minute she stepped on that damn floor. Chelley versus Taylor. Chelley looked good, too. She got up there. She was twerking on Meg. Sat Meg down. Meg said she was speechless. Chelley looked good, too. She did her thing. Taylor... I already hear Elise now with that archback wing. But he got up there. He was crumping. He was twerking. Like, too much. But, I mean, he was doing his job. That's what he was supposed to do. You just couldn't catch me doing it. But he was up there doing his thing. He was up there doing what he needed to do. He was trying to win. Olandria's face, though, whenever she saw it, she looked a little bit concerned. But Taylor won. So it was a tie for round 1. 2 for the guys, 2 for the girls. We move on to round 2. 3 versus 3 Lumbo. Cierra looked good. Cierra was pulling out all the tricks. Shit, if it wasn't limbo, Cierra would have won just strictly off of what she was doing. But Iris got out first because she tried to bend over and didn't even try and get underneath the damn bar. But Olandria was like, enough with these tricks. Like, y'all asses just need to walk underneath that damn bar. But Cierra's still tearing it up with the moves. Ace was killing it too. Hannah was killing it too. Jeremiah was still in it. Cierra ends up getting out. The boys had more of their players still left in the game than the women did. So the boys won that one. We get to the puzzle. This is where they can see who the bombshell is. So they start putting the pieces together. And as we all saw from that first look, the girls was talking about X, Y, and Z is fine. When they started piecing him up, I said, this is every other white nigga that you see in the street. I was like, they glossing and just straight up glazing him like a fool. But the woman, Bombshell, I said, is she black? And then whenever I saw the body coming together, I was like, oh, we finally got a bombshell. She about to come in here and shake some shit up. But the girls, they finished first, so they won. The girls get their bombshell first. Meg tells them, brace yourself because we got a hot hottie coming in. And she brings out TJ. He is 23 years old. I said 23. Here we go. We don't need another 23-year-old. We don't. Not for the women. The women need a nigga that's like 27, 28, 29 years old. Bring a real man in there. But he's in there. He's confident. He seems very confident with what he wants. Hannah, I'm like, Hannah gonna be all over him. That just screams Hannah's type. Huda's sitting there acting like she's excited, which I mean, I guess she is because she's gonna try and use it to try and get Jeremiah jealous. Yeah. Remember I said it. What's today? June 19th at 10:45 p.m. Remember I said it because it's gonna happen. She's gonna use him to try and make Jeremiah jealous, even though Jeremiah got some attention coming his way. Jeremiah ain't gonna think about her. At least I hope and think he wouldn't. But Chelley is talking about how fine he is. So it looks like Chelley might entertain him, hopefully. But we'll see. But Ace, he talking about I'm sick. Ace, you ain't threatened by that man, please. Please. But Meg says to the boys, we can't leave y'all alone. Like, I can't leave y'all hanging. And then she brings out, I'm gonna get her name right eventually, but I believe it's Andreina. That shot they showed of that back. I said Olandria got some competition. We got some cakeage coming in. She got a body on her too. She's beautiful. She's a beautiful girl. Like, she is a bombshell. She's Dominican. Amaya, you got another Dominican up in the house. She's confident. You can tell she's confident. She got aura with her. She look good. You can tell she feel good too. And she comes walking in there, and we find out her 3 targets. Jeremiah, go straight for him. Jeremiah, Nick gonna entertain her too, because that's a woman. And you know Ace is too, because Ace is one of her options too. I said, ooh, this is gonna get good. But I hope she goes straight for Jeremiah. That's who I hope she focuses on, because that's gonna be real interesting. Because she gets out there. Taylor and Ace excited. Taylor, what you excited for? What you excited for? I thought you wanted Olandria. Ace, we already knew Ace was gonna be excited. Like I told y'all since day one. Any piece of ass is walking in that door, he gonna be excited. And that ass that walked in, any man in the world would be excited. So I'm not mad at him. But she comes walking out there. Her body is crazy. Like I said, Meg said, okay. As Meg knows, Meg appreciates her body because she got one on her too. But Huda sitting there talking about some, girl, you look good. I said, you know you about to be crying, because you know that woman is really gonna threaten her. We know how she is when it comes to women that pose a threat to her. She don't even know that this woman is coming for Jeremiah. It's about to be crazy. She put on a nice show today, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure we're going to see the real Huda soon. But all the boys is looking like, I want some of that. Every single one of them, truth be told, except for Austin, really. But Ace is talking about she came in looking fine. She did. But Meg makes her exit tomorrow. We got the Bombshells bombshelling. We got the new Bombshell male kissing Iris up in soul ties. I said, oh, shit. Now she done pulled Jeremiah just to go get pulled by the Bombshell. They didn't show any of Adriana's conversations, which I feel like it's strategic because they're probably trying to hide something. We'll see it in the first look tomorrow. But if y'all got this far, shout out to y'all. Shout out to y'all for all that y'all been doing for me the last 3 weeks. Y'all have done me amazing. But since y'all have, and I got to pay it forward too, there are so many people out here that is doing these recaps. And with y'all showing me so much love, I want y'all to show them some love too. You already know, if you've been watching me forever, go watch Movie Bae. Movie Bae does them every single day as well. Go watch her. Wandy, Kaya, the big hitters like Tammy Talks, Roxy Says, Elise. There's so many. Jamie, that's me. There's so many people out here, especially a lot of black content creators that are out here really doing this every single night. And it's fun. It's fun to do it, but just getting that support helps. It helps so much. So go show those people some love. They be in my comments. Just remember the names that I said. Go down there, hit subscribe. But again, thank y'all so much. Y'all have done so much for me. We are on the road to 10K. We getting super, super close. And yeah, I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow because we about to have a ball. But I'll see y'all later. Peace.